For 5 decades, the Northern Burlington County Regional School District has served the communities of Chesterfield, Mansfield, Springfield, and North Hanover. Over that time, thousands of students have passed through these doors and walked these halls. While the faces have changed, the setting has largely remained the same. Educational and technological trends have continued to evolve, and while every effort has been made to keep up with those trends, the facilities have become more and more outdated. As a school, Northern strives to provide students with a 21st century education, but 20th century facilities are making that more and more difficult.
What I want to show you is an aerial photo of our campus as it looks today. The East Building at one time was our junior high school. The West Building at one time was the high school. When I arrived on campus in 1993, that was the high school and junior high school. We took the junior high school in around 2004, and we moved it into a middle school. We purchased 53 acres of property. I believe everything has to have a vision. Years ago, and I mean years and years ago, almost 16 years ago, there was a vision for this campus. This is where we are today with the vision. This is the building excellence vision. And if you look between the east and west buildings, everything that's in white, you see the connector there. It's an auditorium, it's a library.
Well, I think the biggest limitation is probably our access. Students have to go out of their way to get here, so all of these wonderful resources that we have here as far as technology and books and they can't access without really having to go far out of their way.
As you know, Northern's a really big school, so when I have to come here, most of the time I'm here, and I have to travel a long way for my classes to get here, and it's really out of the way, and it's just a hassle sometimes. And then you have to walk through administration with hall duty, and it's difficult sometimes.
So we've been doing what we can with the space, but the wonderful thing about our program is we keep growing and growing, but our space is not getting any bigger. So we are working with what we have right now, but the availability to have more space would be so much more beneficial.
Well, the theater has really affected us because it's not that great of a stage, and it's really hard to move around backstage because there's not a lot of room. It's very cluttered with all the props that we have and all the materials. And it's really brought our morale down because we just look at it and we're like, this is our stage. It's really not good.
Right now it's mainly with props and costumes. We are so overpacked with the different things that we need to use that it is actually not safe for the students to go into and access, so they have to stay away. So having more space to store things for our plays and our shows would be amazing.
Sometimes we'll have to open the curtains. You'll see us walking around getting ready for the set, and it gets very cluttered and very disorganized.
Back when I went to high school here and took the theater program, we did the musicals on the stage. And at that time that was fine because it was the perfect and appropriate space. But last year we had about 70 students audition for the musical, and in our current space that would be everyone standing shoulder to shoulder on the stage. So we've been using the North Hanover facility, which we have to bus the students to, and that takes away time and money as well. So having a facility here that we can access will only increase our program.
It's expanded cafeterias. To the right of the East Building, you see a lot of ag area, instructional area for our agriculture program, our agri-science program.
Safety-wise, we have a lot of safety concerns because the students, especially in floral design, we have to take our arrangements over to the large cooler over in the greenhouse area, so they have to go outside in the beginning of classes, end of classes, so that does take up some class time. In the advanced, in the ag mechanics area, we have to utilize the outside area, so that's a security issue also. Our sheds are away from the classrooms, so a lot of times students have to go out there and get their the equipment and things like that.
And then you see connectors between in the 400 to 300, 400 to what we call the 500 building, and then the new gymnasium is there. It looks pretty simple.
Some of the limitations of this gym are that when all 3 levels have to practice together, it's almost impossible because we have 1 court and 1 net, and it's really cramped. And also the heat is a big thing, and it's really hot and difficult to practice in.
Limitations are many. I'll give you some of the highlights. Storage is, I buy equipment, whether it's therapeutic rehab equipment or bandages, things we would use for treatment, or anything out there. I can't buy it in quantity at the beginning of the year when I need to, because it's difficult to keep it in-house. I have no place to do rehab. It's a common occurrence for kids to lay on the floor and do their exercises, or do their exercises unsupervised in the gym. They may or may not be doing it accurately because I can't see them. It's difficult for, during my peak time, from when the bell rings till, about 4 o'clock, when there's so many kids that are trying to, they may not necessarily even need me, just need things from my facility, can't get in and out of the room to get it. Kids who can't get in to ask a question, they'll wait and they might miss half a practice waiting to ask me a question because they can't get in my room to talk to me because it's so busy after school. And really, everything is just a little bit outdated. The lighting in here is horrible, so when I'm doing an evaluation, often I'll have to take them into the gym or outside just because I can't see. Skin infections in wrestling, discoloration or shadows of a potential fracture, I can't see because of that.
If you look to the right, you see the black areas. That's the expanded parking in the front and the expanded parking in the back.
Well, it's hectic because we have a traffic flow that we're trying to maintain with staff and students parking and pedestrians kind of coming and going. So right now it's really crowded, especially if you get here after a certain time. We just kind of take it one day at a time.
So what I'm saying is it's a good time fiscally. It's a good time. In 2010, when we were first reapproaching this project, the economy was struggling. Our communities were struggling. State aid, we had lost $4 million in state aid. We were laying people off. Some of you remember those dark days. It wasn't a time to go ask the community for a referendum. So as those 2010, 11, 12, 13 years passed, when we got into 2013, we realized that some of our debt service was going to come past due, and we could time a building project with that. What we did in 2013 was we put together a strategic planning committee, administrators, teachers, and we started working on our educational specifications. September 29th is the vote. So I talked about bonds expiring, state aid available. We're going to be at a little over 28% of the project is going to be funded by the State Department. And the interest rates are historically low. So we're excited about the financial opportunities in this project. When I talk about strategic planning, it's important for the community, for the school community, for the board, the parents, the teachers, the support staff, to know that this isn't something that we came up with in the last 6 months. In 2000 and 2005, we put together long-range facility plans. And every 5 years, we update those plans to the Department of Ed. And back in 2000, our long-range facility plan showed the connection between the two buildings. We were building this building that we're in today, and when I was out to the community, presenting to the community back then for this project, I actually had a PowerPoint slide that showed where we were going to go possibly 5 or more years from then. So from 2005 to 2010. So we kept that long-range facility plan and comprehensive maintenance plan moving forward, and we were waiting fiscally for a good time to present the project. And so what we're doing when we're doing this is we're paying attention to our maintenance and our renovations, and we're making sure that we don't repair boilers, for example, if we know that in 5 years from now we're going to restructure the campus. And the example I give is, if you're going to renovate your kitchen at home, and you're going to expand your kitchen and expand your family room, right before you do that, you don't put in a new floor and a new heating system. You say, wait a minute, I better wait till I do the extensions and then buy a heating system that'll work for the expanded space. And that's what we were doing. We knew that there was going to be this project, and we had to wait for the right time. With regards to strategic planning, for me, the educational specifications were the focal point. Because we know when we're conceiving a building, you don't sit down with a few people and the architect and say, hey, I think I want to do an addition. What you do is the State Department asks you to first evaluate your academic programs and decide where do you want to be in the future academically. That's called developing ed specifications. When you develop those ed specifications, those specifications go to the architect. And the architect then designs buildings and instructional spaces around those ed specifications.
The choral setup, this specific room, was built to be like a regular classroom. The acoustic value of this room is not set up to be a choral room. When the kids actually sing, la, the sound doesn't really travel so that the whole entire group can actually hear the sound of their singing, which does not help our performances. We need to have a live space that absolutely helps them understand what a choral sound should be like in an actual auditorium or a choral setting. The location of where our classrooms are and which we are in the auditorium will allow us to be able to perform and practice in that setting a lot easier, because it's a lot to be able to take equipment over, to get set up. To bring my class, I've already lost 5 minutes to get over there. To be able to use the actual space that we're performing in. So if we have all of our concerts in an actual auditorium, sorry I said that, that allows us to be able to perform at a high level just in our rehearsals, so that when we get to our performances, it's that much better to get in there.
So the facilities that we use right now were designed for completely different purposes. So the stuff that we're doing in them is kind of limited by what they were made to do. For example, the room we're in right now was an old auto shop, so it's shared between engineering and ag, and sometimes we have 2 classes going on here at once, which is a limitation.
Trying to get new equipment is a bit of a hindrance for us with the current facility because we have run into issues with electrical and actually physically moving the equipment into the spaces because of small doorways and square footage capacity as well.
It means that we have to handle things as they come up, so it changes the day-to-day way that we go about things, because we might have a situation come up this one day where we have to change class is going to be held in this manner today, or we're just going to have to deal with this new level of noise for a day or 2 while that's happening. So it's not one specific thing, but it means that we have to be on our toes to deal with a lot of different problems as they come up.
We're limited in providing materials to our students because of storage and other spaces and collaboration between each other, because we're spread out throughout the building.
So this was the site when I arrived in 1993. The future site of the elementary school, which was a tree farm, the future middle school, which was a tree farm. The elementary school district bought their property. We purchased 53 acres, where we are now, and we built the middle school. Towards the end of the construction project, you can see this perspective where you see the middle school and the high school. What I want to point out here is the middle school and the elementary school, their location is up closer to the high school campus. That wasn't the original design. This is actually a PowerPoint slide that I showed over 10 years ago, probably 15 years ago. And it shows you the 10-year facility plan, and the idea, if you look to the right, of the connection between the east and west building, the gymnasium, and in this design, the auditorium was actually attached to the 500 building. Again, this was just a schematic, just a vision, probably 15 years ago. And if you look to the left, you see the location of the middle school, and you notice that the middle school is all the way out on Island Road. And that was for curb appeal. But when we went to do the ed specs and the design, we said, you know something, we need to move the middle school and the elementary school closer to the high school campus. Does anybody know why? It was for parking. We actually wanted to move the parking lots closer to the athletic field in the high school campus, and the middle school parking lots closer as well, so that when we have events, people are parking right there. And it worked out very well. So you don't just put ideas together and run with them. This is something that's born 15 years ago and nurtured over those years. And this was the high school campus as it was conceived almost 15 years ago. And this was the middle school campus. Again, you can see how it was out on Island Road, and we moved it closer. So over these years, we're maintaining our facilities, and we also maintain our facilities with our students. You folks, many of you folks know this. A lot of new people in the room that don't know it. But these are students caring for and maintaining and learning how to maintain our equipment, their equipment. We, in 1998, anybody around in 1998? That's actually the connection between, you can see the media center there, and you used to walk outside under this tin roof to get to the media center, and we put connectors back then. And then in 2010, this is demonstrating that we're constantly maintaining our facility. That was when we did the roofing project with the solar panels. This was the transportation center to the right in the middle school construction. We also use this very much for learning opportunities for our students. When this project gets underway, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for all of our programs to participate in the actual construction and design of the building. So I want to highlight some key concepts in this project. The first one is our academic programs and the needs academically. We've looked at every single academic program, and we've envisioned what we're going to want instruction to look like for the next 10 years. We've also spent a lot of time preparing a design that will advance our security at the high school. Every year I talk about incrementally improving security in this district, every single year. We've done cameras, we've hired school resource officers, we put locks on the doors, we synchronize the locks. Last year we started controlling traffic patterns because it was too easy to access the East Building in the morning and throughout the day. We're constantly reviewing and improving our campus security. This is the next step. It's a logical step in the process. And we have some core facility needs. We don't have an auditorium, period. Our media center is wonderful in the high school, but we need a media center. We need a library. And our cafeterias are undersized. They don't meet the student population demands in the building. And our parking is inadequate. These are core facilities.
The first thing with the 500 building is we have outgrown it. Since I've been here, we have the kids sit on the actual stage, the kids that are not performing, because we don't have enough room for them to actually watch the performances. We have anywhere between 140 to 160 kids performing with over 500 seats already taken with just parents and family members. So we have literally outgrown the auditorium to the point where it's probably getting close to the maximum amount of people that are allowed to be in there. Not enough chairs. In the spring, it wasn't until 4 years ago that we were allowed to use North Hanover. It was so hot in there, I literally had 3 kids and some family members that were passing out. So, you know, physically it's not very good to be in there because it's very, very warm, and we're very fortunate that North Hanover allows us to use their auditorium in the spring because it's air conditioned, and it really does fit all of them. In fact, we have probably 150 to 200 seats available, and the kids actually get to see the performances. So right now that's the #1 thing that we have outgrown it, and it's been many, many years that it's been that way, about 10 years that we've been using the facility, and we're just trying to cram people in there for the holiday concerts.
When you walk in, it's very overwhelming. There's so many people there, and the line for the lunch, especially at the little cart, it goes far back, so you have to kind of walk all the way behind the people, and it takes a really long time to get a lunch, even from the lines up by the cafeteria. Some people are up there till like almost the end of the lunch period and only get like 10 minutes to eat. There's not enough seating. I see a lot of people standing around, or they sit out on the sidewalk and eat. It's kind of hard to get a place to seat. It's hard to get around, and you bump into people, knock things out of people's hands. Sometimes you drop your lunch. It's kind of hard to get through.
Right now we have staff and students both parking here in the same lot.
Well, how it works is teachers and the staff, they have their parking, and then when it comes down to students, each student has a certain amount of points that they acquire over the past 3 years from freshman year to junior year to see if they can get a bigger spot or they can share a spot. You pay $50 to get a big spot if you've earned that amount of points, and you pay $25 for a half spot, which means you switch on and off with a partner.
It's an application process. It's a combination of their GPA, how many points they have regarding sports and clubs and different activities that they have. So it's a system that we have because unfortunately we don't have enough spots for each student that's eligible to drive to be able to park every day.
So when you go to the State Department with a project, one of the first things they're going to look at is your core facilities and your enrollment projections. You're not allowed to build a building that's not going to meet your enrollment projections, period. And you're not allowed to build a building that's going to house 3,000 students when you're only projecting 2,000. That needs to be regulated, and so it is. So we're looking at parking and cafeterias and even men's and women's bathrooms. There needs to be so many per student, and we're under standard in the high school in those areas. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but when you look at core academic areas, we're talking about centrally locating the library. How awesome is that? And bringing our guidance counselors to the middle of the building too. It's important. People, when they drive up to the high school, are going to actually know where the front door is. It's a really unique concept that we're exploring. But our visitors don't know where to come into the building. They don't know where to park. I love it here at Northern Burlington. We had a new superintendent in the region come in, and he asked if he can go for a tour. And I took him for a tour, and I'm so proud of the campus. I'm not saying, this is a horrible place. This is a wonderful place. But as we walked around the campus, and he's new, he said, "Dr. Srud, aren't those classrooms?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "Well, you have weights in there." I said, "Yeah, well, that's really our weight room." And there are things that you don't realize just don't make sense because you're so close to it. And when people come, like I said, people come to visit, they call me from the phone. "I'm outside, I don't know where the front of the building is, where do I go to park?" I get the phone call, so we tell them. You have to give them direction. So is that why we're doing this? It's one of the very small reasons why. Centrally located, enabling access, fostering collaboration and support across academic initiatives. If you look at the design, you're going to see that academically we're bringing programs together in the high school, and we're going to make it more accessible to collaborate with your colleagues. You may actually be in the same area.
The main thing the new facilities would centralize our location. So in engineering specifically, it's very useful to be able to send a kid to the wood shop to do a few operations and the metal shop to do a few operations. Right now that's very difficult to do because we're spread out. If we're in a lab where I can look through a glass window and see that kid or supervise that kid, then I can stand right in the middle, or I can stand with the kid that's using the tool and still keep an eye on my classroom, which makes us able to accomplish a lot more in a given period.
We could work together a lot and share the students between labs. That's one of the issues is when we send one student to another lab, they have to go a long distance right now. So with the new setup, we'd be able to say, hey, go over to this lab, get this material, bring it back very quickly, and it wouldn't be a hindrance to class.
So much more to talk about, but this is all online. There are several drawings of the renovation. The one that's in the blue and gray and white is put that together that way. The blue is the new construction, the gray are the renovated areas, and the white are areas that are being left alone. And when you look at the gray renovated areas, that's all academics and all instruction. And we are going to have a new high school. And the conservative efforts for a new high school is about $112 million. And that doesn't include, what are you going to do with the one you have? One of the first things this Board of Education asked me and this administrative team, and we looked at them, the first question was, why aren't we looking at a new high school? So we looked at it. I said, really? Yeah, let's look at it. Okay, let's find out what a new high school costs. It's more than twice as much. What are you going to do with the existing high school? We don't know. Are you going to demo it and put the high school there? Yeah, well, that's going to cost a couple of $1 million to do that. What are you going to do in the meantime? Are you going to try to locate another property? What township will it be in? Ha-ha. You know something? We got a lot of nice things going on here. We got a wonderful campus. We got beautiful facilities. We've been maintaining our facilities all along. Let's renovate and make it happen. And let's save everyone at least, 2/3 of the money you're going to spend. Safety and security, I don't have to spend a lot of time on this. Separated traffic patterns, we have them in the middle school. The buses come in one area, the parents and students come in another. In the high school, the buses are going to come in one area, the students are going to come in another area, and the faculty are going to come in a third area, and the drop-offs, and they'll all be separated. So you get a better idea in this drawing of the closed campus, the student parking, the traffic patterns, and where the buses are going to be dropping off the kids. So our kids walk between buildings. This was done probably, I got this sent in an email to me from students, I think it was 3 years ago. And what they do in the high school is they put green trash bags over their heads when it's raining, and they walk between classes. So I actually had this picture. I never knew when I was going to use it. And then I said, oh, now's a good time to use it. I know who the two students are. I will not reveal their identity. So it's not just about the security of walking between the campus, the two buildings, but it's also about the health and safety. And if you're in the high school, you should know this, but in the middle school, if there are thunderstorms coming through, we actually follow the weather and keep the students in class until the thunderstorms pass. So we're pretty multiple faceted over there. We can pretty much manage anything. We have traffic, we have trucks coming up between campus.
Delivery-wise, we have issues with the delivery drivers coming in, coming through the bus parking lot, so that creates an issue if they come during lunchtime and students are out there. So there's a lot of big concerns that we have, so we want to make sure that we minimize, and security is a big thing.
This is one of our morning photos of our drop-off area. These are students walking from Island Road down the bus access road to school in the morning. And this is the parking out in Island Road.
When a kid doesn't get a spot or he shares a spot, they go about a half a mile down campus to Island Road and they park there, either on the right or the left. And the rules on that really is if you park within the 2 white poles that they have set up there, you will get a ticket. If you're farther from that, you're good. And everyone walks down the road that connects the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school together every morning. If you don't get there early enough, you're probably going to be really far down when you park, and the walk is pretty annoying. So
these are additional bus parking spots. This is our 500 building, and we do have assemblies in the gymnasium. I took a picture of this last year when we had one of the, I think the assistant prosecutor in, talking to our students. And she said to me, is this where we're meeting? I said, yes. Don't you have an auditorium? No, this is where we meet. And we love it here. So you talk about a vision. Here's a vision. That's what the front of the building could look like. Renovation costs are almost $28 million in this project. Don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but you know, gas boilers, their life expectancy is 25 years. Ours are over 50 years. It doesn't mean, like, and I've had people ask me, why didn't you get new boilers 5 years ago? You could get new boilers. You're not going to get state aid for the boilers because you're not out to referendum. The only way you're going to get state aid for your projects is if you go out to referendum. And if you put new boilers in 5 years ago, what are you going to do when you renovate? If you know you're going to renovate, we're careful with the roofs we're replacing. If we know we're going to be tying into roofs, we know what we want to do. We want to do it as realistically and as practical as we can. These are just some of the cost projections. Again, a lot of data. These are your tax impacts. If you look at it across the net annual impact for average assessed homes, in Chesterfield it's 174, Mansfield it's 182, North Hanover 157, and Springfield 206. If you take Mansfield, for example, it's 182. That's the average assessed home. That's the front entrance at night. I mean, that's the auditorium at night. So what I want to do is talk to you about the information centers. If you go to nburlington.com, all you have to do is click on Building Excellence. And you can run down a whole list of topical areas. All of the presentation, not all of them, but I've given about 5 presentations so far. There's 3 of them that are on the website because only when they change a little bit do I post a new one. This one will be posted. Plain Talk is just an information center where it talks about everything about the project, finances, planning, academics, anything that you could think about. And we also have a section called Frequently Asked Questions. As I get questions over and over and over again, I'll get emails. So what I do is I compile the emails and I answer one at length. And I send the email, I send the response, and I say, listen, if you go to here, click on this link, you'll see the response. And then anyone else who wants to see it can go there. So I'm not sending out 100 emails to 100 different people answering the same question. So the social media and networking has really helped with regards to getting the information out. And people will say, well, there's no information. I don't know where else to put it. I joke about a blimp. We need a blimp. Send a blimp over the communities and say, go to nburlington.com or go to Northern Matters and get every single question you can possibly think of answered. And if you can't get that answer, send me an email and I will answer it. There's also a community website, Northern Matters. They're taking just about everything that we post on our website and they put it here.
A lot of the benefits is that the whole ag department will be together in the new area, so that floral design, greenhouse, the ag mechanics area, nursery landscape, they'll be together, and we will have a fenced-in area that will add a lot of security to the situation that we don't have right now.
I've been very lucky. They've asked me time and time again for the different things that I would like to have in my media center. So I've had a lot of input, and I'm just absolutely a lover of technology. So just a lot of great things will go on as far as just being able to improve and update and even keep up with things, because as they move, you need to be better and better and better. So I know that they're working toward making sure that they're able to upgrade and improve as things get better too. The kids get very excited when they see that the school is excited about what they're doing. So a new facility for them would be new opportunities for them to explore theater in brand new ways.
With the new location, I think it would be easier for students to come in here and access the media center. It would be right next to the cafeteria, right in the center of all the action, so they could see what's going on and come in more frequently.
We'd be able to maximize everything with a kind of a fresh start new floor plans, and be able to ensure absolute safety in our labs, number one. And number two, be able to kind of maximize the learning by having focused learning areas throughout the different labs that kind of are tailored to the curriculum rather than tailoring the curriculum to the lab.
There's going to be more technology. There's going to be a lot more access to even just charging. Something as simple as outlets and being able to charge devices, because students have all of their own devices. We have so many Chromebooks, but we have to keep them charged. So it'll be just a lot easier. There's going to be a lot of access to that. That's just one example of what will be improved.
Space will be used better, but I actually will have a designated rehabilitation area where kids will be able to do rehab while I am evaluating, and I can check in with them, and I won't be shuffling kids in and out. I'll have outdoor access, so kids will be able to come in and out of my office fresh off the fields. And I have and the lighting alone, that will speak wonders. I know it seems like a small thing, but just the darkness in here makes a big deal, even with lamps that I set up. It's the new office and the new clinical, really it's all clinical, the new clinical area is going to make the biggest difference.
If the referendum is passed, we should have enough spots for everybody. So in other words, students that are eligible to park every day, they should be able to park, without an application process that kind of, can be complicated. There'll be enough spaces for staff, and it'll also help improve the traffic flow and the pattern that, we have today. It works, but it could be a lot better.
It'll allow us to have more space. We wouldn't have to run over to the upper elementary school, and we would have lots of more room to move around, to move our props, and it would just be an overall better experience.
We'd be kind of on the way to everything. We'll be right across from the cafeteria. So it'll just be a really good location. It'll keep students who are coming here from interrupting classes by going through instructional areas of the building. It'll also be a really nice place they can see what's going on. Because right now we're kind of down a long hallway. They can't see that we have something special going on after school, and they don't know when the new books have arrived, or they just don't know what's going on. So it'll be a lot better for marketing of the library, access to our resources, just everything in general. Our arts program here keeps growing and is amazing. We have a wonderful, talented group of people. And if we can just continue to let those students explore their creativity in new avenues, like a new building or a facility, the program is just going to get better and better and better.
It will hopefully match what I'm able to do with the kids, will match the level of kids that we have. Fantastic kids. So hopefully it will match that.